Hey everybody. So tonight I am going to be discussing Ang Lee's 1997 film, The Ice Storm. And first off, I love this movie. I love everything about this movie. It's funny, because I saw this back when it came out in high school, and I hated this movie. I didn't like this movie at all. A bunch of years went by and I saw it again and I completely fell in love with it. I can't even really reference back what my issue was back in high school when I saw it. I think maybe I thought it was too quiet or some shit. I really don't remember, but that does sound like some dumbass shit I would have said when I was younger. I don't even know where to begin. Again, the art direction is absolutely perfect. The costume, oh my god, the costume design. I want Kevin Kline's entire wardrobe for this complete film. I want every outfit he has on. His clothes could not be better, okay? I love that. I love how it seems like they've sort of got the coldness of the 70s as correct as it could be. I, of course, didn't grow up in the 70s, but I've watched a lot of films from the 70s because I love the 70s, and there is sort of that icy coolness to so many of them. There's such an emotional distance or disparity through them all. And this movie does a really good job of bringing that to the surface, and it's so subtle how Ang Lee and company chose to sort of show the deadness, emotionally speaking, that took place in the 70s. And I like how the backdrop of the Watergate scandal is going down during this actual ice storm that hits during Thanksgiving Day weekend, and I think it's in 77 or so. There's a ton of people in this movie. Kevin Kline's in this, Sigourney Weaver's in this, Joan Allen's in this, Tobey Maguire's in this, Christina Ricci's in this, Katie Holmes is in this. There's probably more people that I'm forgetting. It's a massive cast, and it's just the two families. They live next door to each other. Kevin Kline and Joan Allen are the Hoods. Sigourney Weaver and her brood are the Carvers. And they end up at this key party, which was apparently a big thing, the swinging thing was in the 70s. I've heard a lot about this key party thing. I'm pretty sure key parties still exist, but I know they were very much in vogue in the 1970s. And you can see that these two marriages between Sigourney Weaver and her husband and Kevin Kline and Joan Allen, their marriages, they're not doing well. And their kids, played by Tobey Maguire and Christina Ricci, they're sort of in their own heads, they're typical teenagers, they're discovering their own sexuality, they're doing drugs, they're sneaking off, going here, going there, you know what I mean? Just being kids. All the while, their parents' marriages are very quietly breaking down in the background. And I think that was another thing that I absolutely loved about this movie, was just how quiet everything was. There was no big fights. There is the odd fight. Kevin Kline, Joan Allen go at it over the mustache cup. But it doesn't get too intense. And the whole time, I'm thinking that I knew what was going to happen next. And I definitely knew how this movie was going to end. It's going to end in a divorce, and the kids are going to be all heartbroken. Or maybe the kids are going to be so disaffected that they're not heartbroken, and that maybe it'll motivate the parents to try and be better parents or something. Again, I thought I knew it all, but you cannot see the end of this movie coming. And I loved that, how it kept me on my toes, because I haven't read the book that it's based off of. So the movie is my only real touchstone point concerning the story. And I could not have predicted the end at all. And I loved the other thing I loved was how the women were portrayed in this with so much empathy. I found that with a lot of movies anchored around the 1970s, the women tend to be either the villains or villainous in some way, or they're just sort of window dressing, they're there in the background. The women are sort of cold and indifferent, and it always seems to be the stories are focused more around the male characters. But they did such a good job of showing the females in this as people, and that they're troubled and they're lost and they're hurting, and there's so much attention paid to the female characters in this that I suppose, in a sense, that would be the one betraying thing that doesn't make this kind of like the 70s. Because, like I said, the 70s, films in the 70s, the women always seem to have to take a back seat. And, not always, of course, in the 70s. For example, I think of a woman under the influence. Gina Rowlands was very much the focus of that. And there's a ton of other movies from the 70s where the women are in the forefront, of course. But nevertheless, I did love how the women were handled with so much more care and concern. than what I'm used to seeing with films either about the 70s or from the 70s. What else did I want to say? I loved the storm as the backdrop. There's an actual massive ice storm touching down. You can't even walk anywhere. Like it's ice central. Like we're talking, this is like the land of Sub-Zero, right? And I loved that again because it was the Mother Nature was sort of mimicking the ice storm that was happening in these people's lives. The emotional ice storm that they were all having to sort of compete with and sort of get through as far as their marriages and their relationships with their kids are concerned. I thought that was amazing too, and I liked how the ice storm plays such a significant part in the end and what ends up happening, of course. I did not see what was going to happen to Mikey coming at all. And I do like how Ben finds him. A newly sober Ben finds him after the party, sitting in the bathroom, feeling sort of depressed about his life. That was the other thing I really liked. I liked how Kevin Kline, Ben Hood, he just seemed lost. He just seemed so terminally unhappy. But it wasn't in a suicidal way again. His happiness, his unhappiness, sorry, was something he was going to have to compete with. It was something he was going to have to best, something he would need to get over himself. So that was amazing too. And was there anything else? No, I think that's it. Yes, again, Kevin Kline's wardrobe. My God, I would take all of that and I would wear it every day. But yeah, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me while I discussed the 1997 film, The Ice Storm. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to go out and do something nice for somebody. But like always, please don't forget that the world is so much more fun because you're here. Whatever it is you're going through, it's going to get better. And yeah, because it just will. You just have to give it time. Don't lose faith. Things will pick up. All right, I'm out of here. Have a good night.